Welcome back to Lone Star Spirit, where we are continuing our look at Tropical Storm Beryl as it races across the Gulf of Mexico and is on a collision course with the Texas Gulf Coast. This is going to be information shared to you from the 4 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, and there have been quite a few changes. And also, it looks like that the cone of uncertainty, especially when it comes to the three main models that are being used, the GFS or American model, the European model, and the Icon model, have started to come into some sort of agreement, making that cone of uncertainty a lot less uncertain. But we're going to go ahead and get into what changes have been made in the forecasting from the National Hurricane Center, and we are also going to look at what all three of the models are saying. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with the winds and things like that. I am going to pick one spot just to kind of give you an idea of what type of wind gusts we can expect with this. Also, keep in mind there is still about 24 to 36 hours left, and there is still an opportunity for Tropical Storm Beryl to do some rapid intensification once the wind shear that it's currently going through lessens the closer it gets to the Texas Gulf Coast and gets into that more warm, shallow water that is close to the Gulf Coast. Also, kind of just wanted to share a little bit of personal stuff with you. Uh, I've mentioned several times throughout these videos that I have a somewhat morbid fascination with severe weather, and I've been fascinated by weather since I was 5 years old. My grandfather, kind of step grandfather, back in the day was communications supervisor for the Department of Public Safety out of Abilene, Texas. And he would do the weather radar when news would break in for weather bulletins for severe weather. He would do the voiceover. He would be the voice that you would hear telling you what was going on with the storms that were coming into the Abilene area. And that really started that whole process of becoming fast with that fascination of severe weather and the undying respect for the power of thunderstorms, supercells, tornadoes, hurricanes, you name it. If it's severe weather related, I've got some type of fascination or deep-seated respect for all of the things that is associated with that. So that's where that got started. But that's enough with me talking. Let's go ahead and get into the information from the National Hurricane Center. We're going to start off with the earliest reasonable arrival time of tropical storm force winds as was updated at 4 p.m. today. And it looks like right along the Gulf Coast, Sunday at 2 p.m. is when we're going to start really feeling those winds start to pick up. And these are not wind gusts, mind you. These are going to just be steady winds that are probably going to be coming out of the east and northeast at this time, especially if you're in the Houston area, Fort Bend County, Brazoria County. And if you're south of Matagorda Bay, those winds will be coming out of the north and northwest. So just give you an idea of what type of winds you may be dealing with. These are tropical storm force winds, which are 35 miles an hour and higher. So that's where we're at with that particular information. Not really much of a change with that. Then we've got the cone of uncertainty. This is the probable path that is associated with it, and you can see on this one that red area right there, that's going to be from around San Luis Pass right there at Brazoria County line, and goes down through, I believe that's Mesquite Bay. We'll look at that here in just a little bit, get a little bit better view of that. But the models are actually starting to come together, and instead of having a swath of 136 miles difference, it's much more compact now, and that's what I was hoping we would get as this storm comes in. And I want to thank everyone at the National Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration for doing the fantastic job that they have done so far with this incoming storm. Here's where the big changes are going to start happening, and this one kind of surprised me just a little bit, and that's going to be the peak storm surge for these areas. And in the video that I did earlier today, the storm surge basically stopped at High Island, and it was pretty much 3 to 5 feet from San Luis Pass down to almost to Corpus Christi, or that north entrance of Padre Island there in South Texas, in that Corpus Christi area. But you'll notice here from Mesquite Bay to Sargent, right there where Matagorda Bay is, you've got a 4 to 6 foot storm surge that's going to be associated with it. So that has risen quite a bit. And on either side of that, from Mesquite Bay to South Padre, you're looking at 3 to 5 feet. Sargent to San Luis Pass, which is going to be Matagorda and Brazoria counties, you're looking at 3 to 5 feet. And then the big thing that was added to it is up there in the upper right-hand corner, starting at Sabine Pass, you've got a 1 to 3 foot storm surge that's going to be affecting southwestern Louisiana. Here are the warnings and watches for that storm surge. Again, you can see it very defined there in that kind of neon pink right there. That's basically the same area, but these are where the warnings are going to be at. So all of those counties that are between San Luis Pass and Mesquite Bay, that's where you're going to have the heaviest storm surge. And then you've got your watches in the lighter shades of pink to include Galveston Bay, the Houston Ship Channel, and it does go all the way up to Sabine Pass and all the way down towards Brownsville, or the mouth of the Rio Grande River. The flash flood risk really hasn't changed that much since the 10 a.m. update this morning. Still going to be points north and west of Houston, also south of Houston. That's going to be parts of Brazoria County, Matagorda County, and it goes all the way up through areas like Washington County, Austin County, and goes up to the north and east. Not quite affecting Waco, not getting quite as far as the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but still a nice big chunk of area where they are expecting copious amounts of rain associated with this storm. So also be on the lookout for the flash flooding risk that is coming in with this storm. And here's a different look at the cone of uncertainty, or the cone that's going to have its projected path. And you can see here that they've got it really shortened down, especially over the last 24 hours. And a lot of states are going to be affected by the remnants of this tropical storm or possible hurricane, Category 1 hurricane. It's going to move through, and hopefully it'll be a fast mover. We don't need another Harvey here, but we're still expecting anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of rain, and it's going to go up towards the Ohio Valley, affecting Louisiana, Arkansas, parts of Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, upper part of Mississippi, and in Indiana and Ohio are potentially going to see some remnants of this as well. So That's the update from the National Hurricane Center as of 4 p.m. It doesn't seem right now that they're thinking it's going to be much more than a high-end tropical storm. But again, we've got about 24 to 36 hours before this thing decides it's going to make landfall. And there's a lot of shear going on right now. And once it gets into those more shallow waters of the Gulf, it can rapidly intensify because those waters are very, very warm. And it's going to, while it's churning up those waters, it's going to be sucking up a lot of that heat, and that's going to be its fuel. So we do still need to keep an eye on this and not rest on the laurels that we're getting here with this latest update. But let's go ahead and go and look at the different models and see where this hurricane is, or tropical storm at this point, is projected to go. We are looking at the Icon model as of Monday, 1 a.m. And as you can see here, we are in still a high-end tropical storm millibar setting. Usually hurricanes are just not going to be a hurricane till it gets to about 980 or lower. That's going to be a Cat 1 hurricane. Of course, the wind speed and things of that nature, there's some other variables that go into determining the actual categorization of tropical storm as opposed to hurricane. But right now it's showing 986 as of Monday morning at 1 a.m. And we're going to back out just a little bit so you can see the whole entire area that is going to be affected by this. To the north and east, we've got Beaumont. Let's back out. It's just a little bit. Brenham and College Station are going to be just in this area right here. Got Columbus, Victoria, Corpus Christi. Lake Jackson and Houston are going to be in this area right here. So let's go and check and see what we've got. Put that in motion as it goes in, and it looks like it's going to go in somewhere in this area right here. That's going to be right there, real close to what looks to be the mouth of the San Bernard River, right here, coming out of Sweeney, and I believe the San Bernard National Wildlife Refuge is in this area as well. It's going to be just to the east of East Matagorda Bay, which is going to be right here. And again, you can see right here, this is where all the nastiness is going to be. So points east of Lake Jackson, so Galveston, Alvin, Houston, possibly even as far as the Katy area, Sugar Land, those areas are going to be in the quote-unquote dirty side of this storm. Let's go ahead and back out just a little bit more. And it's going to, looks like, go pretty much right over Houston. It's going to be on that west side, right around the Beltway. So Crosby, Baytown, Seabrook, Pearland area, there you're going to be, and even maybe as far as Liberty and Anahuac, you're going to be dealing with that more dirty side of the storm. And we're going to take it out just a little bit and see where it goes after that. And it doesn't look like it weakens. It actually looks like it strengthens just a little bit in places as it goes along and goes into East Texas and stays pretty compact as it goes. And then we're getting into northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and still got a pretty decent center of rotation. But it seems like once it crosses into Louisiana and Arkansas, it really just loses a lot of its punch and starts to dissipate and not really gain strength. But even up here in the Kentucky area, you're going to be looking at potentials for tornado outbreaks, lots of rain. There's going to be high straight line winds, things like that, going from Tennessee, Kentucky, Indianapolis, and going in Indiana, Indianapolis area, going into Ohio, and then eventually into Pennsylvania. Okay, so that's the icon model. We'll come back here in just a little bit and look at potential wind gusts on each one of these models. Let's go back to the European model, and we're going to bring it up, and there we go. Start at the same time, Monday, 1 a.m. The millibars there for this one is going to be set at 991. Still kind of, in my estimation, that's not going to be a very powerful tropical storm. It's kind of midline, maybe. Not really crazy when it comes to the storm surge and things like that. But the way that forecasters and National Hurricane Center are talking, there is still plenty of time for this thing to start to gain strength, even up to this point, and maybe a couple hours afterward. Now, 1 a.m., you see it's a little bit further off of the coast line here, and it looks like it's headed right for that Matagorda Bay sea drift area. As we put this in motion a little bit, we're still at Monday, 1 a.m. coming in. So 988 at 5 a.m. Now, the icon model has already, according to the icon model, this thing is already over land by this time, and more than likely towards the Houston area. And this one, according to the European model, is still over water, very shallow water, and could be doing a little bit of strengthening. 988. Again, hurricanes typically are not classified until they reach the 980 mark. But this is relatively close. So there's always that chance for some rapid intensification when it comes to these type of storms. So we're looking at somewhere between around Matagorda Bay, the eastern part of Matagorda Bay, and then East Matagorda Bay for our landfall, right over that eastern part of the main part of Matagorda Bay, and then going just west of Bay City. And we'll go ahead and let this play out a little bit more. Headed toward Columbus. It's just going to be just east of the Columbus area, headed right straight for places like Brenham and College Station. And then it should be making a northeasterly turn here pretty quick. Still kind of going in a northeasterly. And there we go. It does take that northeast style turn and start headed toward the southern part. Just going to be just west of Texarkana and going into southwestern Arkansas, and then headed up. And again, you're seeing here, it's still pretty compact. And then once it gets into Arkansas, it really starts to kind of lose a lot of its punch when it comes to that. So the European model does not give this thing a whole lot of chance when it comes to being a really powerful storm. And then the last one we're going to look at here is the GFS, and we're going to move this forward to where it gets a little bit closer to making landfall. Okay, so right here, 989. But you can see it's very well organized. There's a distinct center low there. And again, you're going to get tired of hearing me say this. Oh, that's icon. I don't want icon. I want GFS. There we go. Okay. So Sunday, 10 p.m. Let's move that. Okay. There we go. So 12 a.m. on Monday, according to the GFS, 997. Right here. 997. So, not really powerful. GFS is not giving this thing really a whole lot of chances of becoming anything more than just a pretty good tropical storm as it goes in. Let's back out just a little bit, let it play out. And right there, 995, as it does make landfall just east of Seadrift, going up towards Port Lavaca and Palacios there. And we'll see where it goes once it's on land. And it seems to follow a very similar path. It's a little further to the west, going just west of the Columbus area. Then again, headed up toward College Station, Brenham area. And if you notice that from Icon to European model to GFS, it kind of goes in a little bit more in a westerly fashion there with the storm, and then it kind of follows the same area, just going just west of Texarkana, going into Arkansas, and this one shows it being a little bit weaker as it goes into Arkansas and on into Missouri and Tennessee. So let's go back and look at what the winds are going to be like, and I think it's pretty safe to assume that we're going to have winds in excess, just regular, not wind gusts, in excess of 35 miles an hour, possibly even as high as 50 miles an hour, depending on where you're at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go to where I call home and make sure we're on wind and not wind gusts. We're going to go right there at Brazoria, closer to Wild Peach, and go ahead and put this in motion just to kind of see what kind of wind. No, we want wind gusts. That's what we want. Okay. What kind of wind gusts we can be expecting. So Sunday night, 9 p.m., we're going to be having some 33 mile an hour winds. So a little bit more than 24 hours from now, we're going to be having some gusts upwards of 30 miles an hour in the Brazoria County area. And as it comes in, of course, those wind gusts are going to increase, getting into the 50 and 60 mile an hour wind gusts there. And as that passes through, those wind gusts are going to start to dissipate and become less powerful there in at that point. But I do want to kind of back it up, and I want to take it a little bit more to the east. So let's zero in. Let's call it let's call it Beltway 8, North Beltway 8 and 45, which I believe is what this is. That's the Hardy Toll Road. Yeah, we'll go Hardy Toll Road and Beltway 8 right there with Icon. And let's put that in motion. So again, 34 mile an hour gusts coming in with this storm, getting closer to the 50s and 60s, and we're going to 79 mile an hour wind gust, 78. And so we're going to be having some pretty doggone good wind gusts associated with it right there on the north side of Houston, all the way through 3 p.m. Come Monday. And you know what? Just for the heck of it, we're going to see what happens, how it has it with the Beaumont area. Let's see what happens with Beaumont. All right. So same time, 12 a.m. Monday the 8th, 24-mile-an-hour gusts, and this is going to be really where that dirty side of the hurricane or the storm is going to be, whether it be a hurricane or a tropical storm. We'll back that out a little bit more so we can follow it a little bit better. Getting into the 30s and 40s. 60-mile-an-hour winds, 67, 69, 72, and going to have some wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour up through 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday as it gets north of Lufkin and gets closer to the area between Shreveport and Tyler. So we're going to have a wind event with a lot of these places, at least according to the icon. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the European model. We're going to go ahead and back that up. We'll start at 1 a.m. It's still offshore according to the model here. And we're going to go back to Brazoria and place our point right there. Again, upper 30s when it comes to wind gusts at 1 a.m. on Monday. Coming in. Now, this one's going to be a little bit more to the west when it comes in. This one looks like it's going over Matagorda Bay. 73 miles an hour, 74 miles an hour, 75. And then we start to lose those wind gusts around noon. They start to dissipate a little bit. The reason I bring this up, depending on where it goes, and earlier I talked about making sure that you have outdoor objects secured, fastened, put away, whatever it may be. And I mentioned chairs and lumber and stuff like that. But things like bird feeders and wind chimes and things like that, it would probably be a good idea to go ahead and take those down, unless it's just you just physically cannot do that. But if you can get those down and save yourself some aggravation, and then on top of that, make sure that you're keeping your property and the people around you safe, because those type of things in a 75-mile-an-hour wind gust can turn into projectiles, and they can cause harm. So, and these are not going to be like 1 second gusts. These are going to be gusts that last maybe 4, 5, 6 seconds, and that's or even longer, and they can actually throw these projectiles, these objects, quite a long way. And you've got to kind of treat these wind gusts as if you're in like a tornado almost. So it's very important that we secure those outdoor objects down, or take them down, secure them, put them away, put them inside the house, whatever it may be that you need to do to protect yourself and your property. All right, last one we're going to look at when it comes to winds is the GFS model. This is the one that has it going in a little bit further south, south of Matagorda Bay, but we're going to keep the wind speed there at 38 miles an hour there in Brazoria. And this is 12 a.m. on Monday coming in. And we're still getting 40, 43, 48, 55 mile an hour winds, 58. So these are just estimates at this point. We could, even though it says 70, 72 miles an hour, 58 miles an hour, it could be closer to 85 miles an hour with these gusts, or closer to 60, 65 miles an hour with these gusts. Now, don't take these predictions, these forecasts, as written in stone. This is not written by God Almighty. This is not revelation as to what is going to happen. There's still variables. There's still time for this to intensify. Trees and things like that can play a role in this. Buildings can play a role in the intensity of the wind. Especially in the Houston area where you have buildings so close to each other, it can actually create basically wind tunnels and you get a 75 mile an hour wind gust going through a couple of buildings, that it could easily turn into a 90 mile an hour wind gust because that air has less space to move in, so it's going to move faster. So it is very important that you're inside. Do not be outside while this thing is making landfall and coming through your area. I hope this information really did help you out at least a little bit when it comes to the oncoming of this tropical storm. Again, like I said, you're going to get tired of hearing me say this, but there's still an opportunity. There is still time for this storm to intensify, and it could do so in a very rapid way. So, again, this forecast, whether it's from using the models or if it's using the National Hurricane Center or the National Weather Service, these are not written in stone. There's a lot of variables still in play to either strengthen or possibly even weaken this storm more or less over the next 24 hours. So we're getting into crunch time with this. I may stay up and do another one here around 10, or I may just wait until the morning, tomorrow morning, and do one. But we cannot sleep on these storms. You can go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and it's a tropical storm, and wake up at 6 a.m. the next morning and it's a Cat 3 storm. The Beryl has done this already. It went from a Cat 1 to a Cat 4 in less than 24 hours when it was in the Caribbean. So there is a history of rapid intensification with this storm already, and this storm has already defied the odds and is history-making storm. So it may have a little bit of gas left in it and wants to make even more history here in the last 24 hours. So make sure you're keeping your ears open, your eyes open, listening to your local officials if they're mandating evacuations, or if it's a voluntary evacuation. Make sure you got a weather radio. You can actually listen to the weather radio online. You can look it up and listen to the local weather radio for your area. Watch your local news reports, your weather reports, Weather Channel, Weather Nation. Use your YouTube, Weatherman Plus, always my go-to. You can also check out Max Velocity and Mr. Weatherman. They've got great information there as well. So if there's not one later tonight, we'll definitely have one after in the morning. That'll be the 4 a.m. Update, and then we may have another one at 10 after the 10 o'clock, 10 in the morning update. And once this is all said and done, like I said, we're going to go back to our normal programming. But everyone, stay safe out there. Keep your eye on this storm. It's not over yet. And until next time, this is Lone Star Spirit. I'm Charles. We'll talk to you next time. Stay safe.